We kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. May the light of understanding illuminate our darkness, and may the warmth of sharing bring us peace. Good morning. I am Reverend Ron Ferris, serving the North Shore Unitarian congregations. Welcome. Our theme for this month is beloved community. It's quite a theme. Right now, particularly, it's important to ponder beloved community in this historical moment, this COVID era of isolation that we're living through. And I'm pleased to say that given the restrictions necessary to manage a pandemic, North Shore UU has done a very good job of maintaining community. Many of you are participating in the anti-racist reading groups, the Circles of Light, or the Braiding Sweetgrass reading group. Many of you serve one another on committees or teams. The work and joy and challenge of manifesting beloved community continues at North Shore Unitarian unabated. And soon, we hope to be able to embrace one another once more and to hear our voices lifted up as one. There will be a day when we come back together. That said, surviving the pandemic will not leave us unchanged. I imagine there will be emergent imperatives, while some things that seemed important before seem less after. Much of that kind of change will remain mysterious or hypothetical until it is revealed to us in likely unanticipated ways. However, there is a sizable change that we can anticipate. After 40 years of service to this congregation and to our wider tradition, North Shore's very own superhero, Lynn Sabrin, will be retiring from her role as Director of Lifespan Development this June. I've heard her referred to as the glue or the soul or the beating heart of NSUC. And what I've seen is not tempered that characterization in the slightest. Her loss will be deeply felt. I'm going to miss her. And that loss will be felt even as her career will be duly celebrated. A change of this magnitude, however, also compels us to reflect on where we are, where we're headed, and what we want to be. In short, the change that's coming is proportional to the opportunity it presents. Change is big. All by itself, it can be scary. Change in the midst of a pandemic, maybe even more so. But we do not have the luxury of time. And I do believe we have the creative capacity to adapt. And we simply must. For the future of NSUC and even of Unitarian Universalism, our choice is none other than change or fade away. Adapt or reconcile ourselves to an institutional hospice. Not an ignoble turn in and of itself, but I don't think that's what we want for ourselves or for future generations. Our tradition and this evolving community are just too important. But what of change? How do we manage it? How do we avoid the reactivity uncertainty invites? How do we maintain our beloved community in its midst? I ask that you reflect on change and the changes that you've experienced in your own life. What were the biggest changes you've had to make? What saw you through? Actually, I'd love Cynthia, our service associate for the day, to address those very questions as a way to get us going this morning. Cynthia, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome on this snowy Valentine's Day, and welcome to everyone watching us on YouTube. You know, Ron, it's interesting. The last time we were talking about curiosity, and now we're talking about change, which are two of the deepest bedrocks in my life. Whether I meant to or not in my long life, I would just embrace the inevitable through believing that change is constant. Change is constant. I should have a t-shirt. Yet, as firm as I am about change is constant, I've been mulling for years about whether change should be deterministic or opportunistic. I mean, planning for change is always helpful to get one started, but sometimes change will morph over time during the planning activity and may become something still quite different than expected. Opportunistic change, or accidental as I sometimes call it, is basically fate for me. Whatever trips across our path. Yet often we do have to take advantage of the opportunity for change to happen. I have come to the conclusion that change for me has been both. Some movement in different direction requires some significant preparation, while others are totally unexpected. And I am still pondering whether one or the other is better. Not quite there yet. My coming to Vancouver, now almost 7.5 years ago, was actually both of these in one. I had been thinking about making a large change for almost a year when I decided to look at a possible new career. I applied to and got accepted to a few programs that would aid me in that change, and then made massive and finely detailed plans to leave my job, rent out my house, move to another country, and prepare to attend film school with very young people who were less than half my age. But then once I got here, what kept me here was not the meticulously planned career change, but rather living and putting down roots here. It all made sense in that first year, and it felt like easily walking through an open doorway by the time I just knew it in my heart. The deterministic change was one more of the head, right? It made sense. I was burned out at work, relationships were shifting, but the opportunistic change seemed to embed itself in the heart even before I was totally aware. And when I was, it came to be practically effortless. What carried me through this combined change was the support of dear friends who talked me through whenever I hit a rough patch, especially one special friend who was very wisely said to me, you know, and just going through that transition from one place to another in one piece, you were successful. You made the change. And all my expectations and angst about the detailed planning, they all fell away. I had done it. So as we collectively consider making some exciting and significant changes here at North Shore, let me leave you with a short poem by Mary Oliver, who I consider my birthday mate, as we were born on the same day of the year. Her many reflections on personal transformation have often guided me. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I'll tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Now join me in our first hymn this morning. Thank you very much.
The mountain fire make the sunlight turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain, spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the spirit, truly of the spirit, only can the spirit turn the world around. Ah, so is life, so is life. Ah, so is life,
A few weeks ago, I laid out the problem set concerning the state of religious education within Unitarian Universalism. The transition team and I utilized three main sources to outline the predicament. We consulted first with Lynn, our outgoing DLSD, as well as the 2013 Confluence Lecture by Reverend Sean Newton, the minister of First U Toronto, and then also the 2017 article by the UU educator Kimberly Sweeney entitled The Death of Sunday School. As I reported then, each of these sources echoed the others and painted a rather sobering picture about not only the future of religious education, but the future of Unitarian Universalism. Each noted a precipitous drop in Sunday school attendance over the last 3 decades. And from these consultations, we drew the outline of the present predicament. We learned that the current conception of Sunday school, where children are segregated from adults, is fairly anomalous in the history of religion, rounding into current form only in the post-World War II era. And that the generation that came up with that system, the boomers, are twice as big as those with school-age children right now. Perhaps even more importantly, we found that changes in the broader culture have eaten into the market share once enjoyed by churches. All that has led us to believe that it is time for a new model. Finding that model will require the open mind of experimentation and adaptation. Lucky for us, UUs, adaptation, which is to say creativity in relationship, in community, that's our fundamental story. Our question: do we allow Unitarian Universalism to harden its arteries as a spiritual boutique and values-based country club? Or do we pivot into the roots of deep tradition and the wings of adaptation that will stand the test of time? I say the time is now to lean into that story of adaptation for the sake of future generations and for the sake of this, our beloved community. That was amazing. That was incredible. I had no idea such an instrument existed, but it turns out it's somewhat ancient. Amazing. Thank you for that. And thank you for finding that performer, Allison. The puzzle that I've just outlined can be daunting. Maybe as daunting as it looks like that instrument was to play. But our transition team saw in the looming crisis an opportunity to change the course of history. We've thought long and hard about possible solutions and how they might play into the vision of the future mandated in the strategic plan. And just to remind you who our team is, it consists of a board member and youth program volunteer, Kit Toe, our project management specialist, Melissa Pitcher-Kelly, a youth program volunteer, Paul Simons, the patron saint of children and general font of wisdom, Joy Silver, an educator and mother of a current Sunday schooler, Sarah Stevens, and a former DRE elsewhere and former board member here, Cindy Leitner. And of course, our fabulous and clear-headed chair, Gail Lehman. And Olivia Bornick and Jim and Marcia Stevenson also contributed to our early conversations and helped establish a trajectory. So the vision that we conjured is intentionally incomplete. We will likely make some adjustments after hearing from you. And we certainly will want to allow the new hire to put their stamp on the design. And even after launch, we will tweak things, great and small, from time to time. This is first and after all an experiment, an intentional adaptation. Harkens back to what Cynthia was talking about in her opening remarks. In a sense, this is actually, in keeping with the Valentine's Day, a courting of a new way. Our vision is not so much a plan as a hypothesis that needs flesh and bone experimentation. So I invite you into the consciousness of scientist, guinea pig, and prophet. The basic tenet of our hypothesis is that the yearning for depth, meaning, and purpose is irrelevant without the accountability, joy, and compassionate container of community. Depth, meaning, and purpose don't matter in a vacuum. They matter in relationship. Community is primary to their healthy pursuit and exercise. So as we considered the mid-century modern manifestation of religious education that segregated the young from the adult and excused parents and other grown-ups from the role of tradition keepers and teachers, we determined that relationship would ground us and be our pole star. So, more relation, less segregation. More community, less what about me? The swapping of these priorities is countercultural in an era where we have never been more segregated by age and interest and internet rabbit holes that coddle our fears and give a false sense of belonging. In an effort to provision our parents with the tools and ability to teach their kids at home about Unitarian Universalism and its values and practices, we will be offering workshops designed to build parental community and to reinvest parents as the primary religious educators in their children's lives. So parents, we're going to give you the tools to do that. And we'll have fun in the process. And we're doing that not only because we believe it will be a powerful heuristic for both kids and their parents, but also because we are shifting what happens on Sundays from education to engagement. And not only for kids. In other words, we think it's time to say farewell to Sunday school. The question, by the way, is not, what will the kids be doing then? That's a mid-century question. The question is, so what will we be doing then? What we will be doing takes advantage of the new communications landscape and draws inspiration from things that have worked, like the Elliott Institute, the UU Family Camp at CBEC, that has been so important to many of you. And if you saw the hint I dropped on Facebook or the slide at the beginning of the service today, that was a picture of Elliott from ET, right? So that was my hint, one of the hints embedded in that picture. So we're taking inspiration from Elliott. And what we will be doing draws also on research that shows that involvement in all church worship during high school particularly leads to more mature faith in both high school and college than any other form of church participation. Involvement in worship, or what we might call practice here. Also, the most determinative factor in happiness is how many close, healthy relationships one had with adults as a child. So thanks and farewell to classroom-based education. Hello to community-centered engagement. So here's the experiment that we will run, the hypothesis that we will test. And in some ways, Sunday mornings will look very much like they do now, and in other ways, it will feel quite different. The kids will be with us adults in the sanctuary throughout the entire service, or perhaps more likely through everything but the reflection. We'll have to run that experiment too. This isn't really a big change, actually. Already, the youngsters were with us for a good chunk of the service. On to that, we will only be adding really the offertory, which is really good for kids to witness generosity in action. And plus, it's a kinetic moment in the service, and we figure we'll need kinetic moments to keep the kids kind of occupied. And then also the pastoral prayer. They'll be in for the pastoral prayer or meditation or whatever form that takes. So we'll make some other adjustments to the order of service to make the experience more engaging for both kids and adults. There will likely be ceremonial roles for kids to play. My Sunday reflection will be condensed, but with the same cerebral and spiritual depth and heft, I hope. To make up for that condensing, during the week following, we will drop a longer form version of that reflection as a podcast so that you can have the opportunity to take Sunday with you into the week in a little bit more detail and to share it with your friends. And those two things, hopefully, will capture and enable greater depth, meaning, and purpose. And if you're afraid of podcasts right now, fear not. We will teach you how to enjoy podcasts. It's not terribly difficult, and I'm confident that we could usher you in to the podcasting era without too much pain. So with a shorter reflection and some other adjustments, the service proper will be shorter, It'll be about 45 minutes rather than the hour plus we were doing when we were last in person. Now, here's where the real experimentation starts. We've gathered, we've sung songs, we've done some ceremony, we've been generous, we've shared joys and sorrows, and we have heard a reflection. After the reflection, we will transition from the sanctuary into 3 or 4 separate rooms where the theme of that day's service will be adapted into different all ages activities. And this would also last about 45 minutes. And the engagement rooms would be followed by coffee and a social hour. So we're putting that after the all ages engagement because as David Mamet so aptly observed in Glengarry Glen Ross, coffee is for closers. The present thinking is that the all ages activities will be on a spectrum that would very much appeal to the young at heart on one end and the less rambunctious elders on the other. These activities and topics could include games, political action, UU history, crafts or yoga, one of Bill and Jessica's amazing thought maps, meditation, storytelling, ceremony, dancing, drum circles, reflection, discussions, any possibilities, limited only by your imagination. Well, by imagination and then attention span, money, and legality. But we can handle that. So this is where our director of engagement comes in. It will be theirs to partner with you in creating, engaging, all ages Sunday service activities. And you will be asked to not only participate, but if you wish, to facilitate, or even to support the facilitation of our youngsters. As Joyce Silver put it, the invitation is to come, whoever you are, wherever you have been, whatever you enjoy, and whatever you wonder about. Come participate, come help prepare and share the many feasts at the new table we will set together. The director of engagement will also be responsible for youth and those special events and offerings like our whole lives or the Halloween haunted house and slumber parties, cons. Those important moments won't be lost. In addition to the obvious need for organizational skills, the top qualities that we're looking for in a director of engagement is a big heart, a warm smile, and an active imagination. Indeed, when Lynn takes her curtain call, it will be these qualities that we will miss the most. We know that we can never replace Lynn, the person, the caregiver, the keeper of institutional history. But we can recognize the attributes of her success, her heart, and her ability to connect. And we can seek those qualities as we attempt to reinvigorate a religion filled with such promise.
You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do. to sing when that spirit says sing. When the spirit you got to sing when that spirit says sing. Sing. When the spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord. You got to sing when the spirit says sing. 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 Spirit says sing.
Now, after hearing all this, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, does our minister really have purple and blue streaks in his hair? No. Now, I've heard it said that people aren't really afraid of change. They're afraid of loss. And sometimes loss is unavoidable and non-negotiable. Lynn is retiring. She's earned it. Now, she won't be totally disappearing, mind you. She'll still be with us as a congregant and member, and we'll still hear her stories and her infectious laugh. But nonetheless, there is still undoubtedly a loss. How we manage that loss, what we make of it, will determine much. And here is where we encounter loss that we have ourselves envisioned and manufactured, the loss of the accustomed, the loss of the familiar, the remembered, possibly even the loss of something that you like, some liturgical element or expectation. And I wish I could assure you that this experiment will conform to our hypothesis. But I could only promise that there will be bumps, as with any pioneering. We are entering unexplored territory. And it will not do us much good to flounder in lamenting the inevitable snags that we encounter along the way. So what I'm asking from you is commitment and flexibility, fueled by an understanding of the stakes. What is at stake? It's nothing less than the future of North Shore Unitarian congregation. And to a very real extent of liberal religion itself. We already have a strategic plan for the future, which very much recognized and maybe even was grounded in the recognition of the need to change how we do things. So we begin this change by experimenting with form and stepping into a more aggressive marketing posture. Soon we will revisit our covenant, the visible intent of our community. And if there is time, perhaps we'll even discover some myths that can capture and convey our essence. And these are all changes. So we start with form, and look, I think this is going to be fantastically fun, community enhancing, and spiritually engaging. I think this is going to work remarkably well. It's going to contribute to our pursuit of depth, meaning, and purpose. And we will need you in this, we will need your support and your patience, your flexibility and your commitment, and we will need your feedback. And we'll very much need your enthusiasm and celebration as we learn and lean into the adaptive community for which the future yearns. In fact, directly after this service, speaking of feedback, you are all invited to come into the Zoom. The links are in the bulletin sent out earlier in the week. In Zoom today, the whole transition team will be waiting for you. And as the Zoom rooms fill up, we'll shuffle into breakout rooms, each room with members of the transition team. There we will answer questions, listen to your concerns and congratulations, and further illustrate our vision of the future. We want to hear from you, whether you are dubious about this direction or thrilled about it or a mixture of both. Friends, as Cynthia said, will get us through this transition, through this change, and move us into the future. So, I'll see you soon. Relationship and creativity. Community, adaptation, commitment and flexibility, creation out of loss. Here we go. Are you ready to make some history? We're building a new way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. A new way, a new way, a new way.
I love these musical offerings that Allison is arranging for us. I hope I hope some of you were dancing in your living rooms along with the folks there in the video. I was dancing all by myself today in the foyer. So probably that's a good introduction to prayer, because you should either be praying that I learn how to dance better or that you never see me do it. So with that, if you would please join each other in the spirit of prayer. We frame our prayers with an address and acknowledgement. We say to you, the sun, thank you for your light and energy. And we say to the earth, thank you for holding us close, for giving us bodies, for our senses, for gravity. We say to you, water, thank you for life, for life. And we say to you, air, thank you for carrying our messages. Thank you for showing us how the Spirit moves and connecting us. We offer these prayers on the ancestral lands of the Tsleil-Waututh and Squamish peoples, which are now blanketed by a beautiful layer of snow, draping the trees and tickling our eyelashes. So we pray for the safety of all those needing to travel today. We pray for the safety of the roads and the help from first responders when needed. Let us remember those who are sick or lonely or hurting in this community. Let us remember them. And let us remember those of the same description who only we know about. Let us pray for this world and the changes it needs to make, that we need to make in order for it to survive. Give us the courage, flexibility, and fortitude to live in to the way of this world, which is adaptation, to echo it in our religious principles, in our religious practices, in our sacred, beloved community. Amen.
We are the North Shore Unitarian Church, and our mission is to empower people to live with greater depth, meaning, and purpose. In this community, we celebrate people from all walks of life. No matter how you make your living or how you experience the sacred, no matter who you are or who you love, we hope you will feel welcome. We are a busy congregation with a lot going on, so please read your weekly e-bulletin. If you haven't already subscribed to the bulletin, you can do that by clicking in the link in the YouTube description or by reaching out to our administrator whose contact info is on our website. But here's a few things I'd particularly want to draw your attention to. Our outreach in January, we're collecting funds to the North Shore Women's Center. And it's a drop-in space where women from different backgrounds and experiences come to access resources, programs, support, information, and answers to questions that they may have regarding a wide range of issues. There are many ways to donate actually now. We have our new text giving, which allows you to pay by credit card by texting the amount plus the word outreach to the phone number in your e-bulletin or on the website. E-transfers are always welcome. You can do that, via email. Cash can be dropped off at the church office, and also checks can be mailed to the church office. There are a bunch of used books for sale, 50 cents a piece. Karen Funt has donated a large quantity of used books, both fiction and nonfiction, that are available on tables in the library area. So please help yourself to as many as you'd like. Stop by during office hours. Make sure to call. Make sure someone's there. And speaking of the church office, they will be closed tomorrow for Family Day, so there'll be nobody there. I would also like to mention the Theologians Cafe that's coming up this coming Thursday. So join moderator John Slattery for some monthly discussions through the West Vancouver Senior Center. February's topic is religion and science, robots, AI, etc. Sounds interesting. Our current programs, just as a reminder, are Circles of Light, Souls Matter, and Braiding essays. So, as Ron mentioned, please join us after the service to chat on Zoom about the future that Ron was talking about. And there will be members of the transition team hosting different breakout rooms, just as a reminder. And next week, do join us for Echolocation Community as Place. And for now, I'm going to go back to Ron, who will extinguish our chalice.
Thank you, Cynthia. We extinguish this flame, but carry with us the light of hope, the light of vision, and the warmth of hope. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. We go forth with courage and love. If you would please, where you are in your home, stand up, rise in body or spirit, and know that your fellow congregants, your members, are doing the same thing at the same time. Rise in body or spirit. And as we leave this sacred place that we have created together with our intention, that we have conjured through the magic of imagination and community feeling, let us do so knowing that we are each other's resource. We friends are here to help one another into a future with creativity and compassion. Let us go in peace, and let us go singing.